All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Today we have an amazing guest. He's going to really open your eyes for man. You guys are gonna have your eyes open. So without further ado, Chad, please introduce yourself. Tell us the good, and I guess if you want to tell us the bad too, you can,
And the ugly.
and the ugly. Why not?
Yeah, well, my name's Chad Trail. I live in the Waco, Texas area, and I own two businesses now, and under contract for a third. And if we can take advantage of some government programs, we're probably going to be pursuing a fourth in the fall. So we're off and running.
That's awesome. That's awesome. But before we get to the business stuff, can you tell us first different experiences that you have with real estate and
Yeah.
things like that?
So I graduated college, finished my master's degree in 2004. So had a chemical engineering undergrad. Didn't really like any of the jobs that were available at the time, so I hung around for grad school, and was lucky enough to find out that my university, which was the University of Kentucky, we had a very strong lean manufacturing program, which taught the Toyota management philosophy, which is a whole nother story about how that opened all the career doors for me. But I went into that program and finished it in 2004. And upon graduation, I guess if we want to get into how I started developing my mindset of how to get into businesses, this was back in I guess this was senior year of my undergrad, chemical engineering. You had a engineering economics course, and everything just really kind of was interesting. Calculating amortizations, and then how much money do I need to collect to pay off this amortization? Is like, man, I could do this houses and businesses. This is just got all clicked. So then one time, I guess the stroke of luck was my roommate at the time. He was a ladies' man. So
Not you though, right? Not you.
no, wasn't quite that lucky. I was every girl's big brother. But but anyway, he always had the girl he was chasing. So the girl that he was chasing at this time was the barista at the Starbucks in Barnes and Noble. So I'm hanging out with him, and we're going down there, and he's playing his game, spitting the game to her. And then I just wander off and happen to stumble across Rich Dad Poor Dad. And Robert Kiyosaki had me hooked on it. I read probably a quarter of that book while we were in there. I bought it, finished it in 2 days. And that really kind of set the direction for everything that I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to buy a business, and I figured I had to kind of work backwards. How do I get there? Then you have to get the leverage to be able to do it. How do I get the leverage? Real estate. And then when I got to that point where I was graduating and getting ready to have a pretty decent starting salary, I went to the banks and said, "Hey, I've got this offer. Will you give me a loan?" 2004, they're handing out mortgages like candy. So they said, "Sure, we'll actually give you twice that amount." So I found a brand new duplex. There was a cul-de-sac full of brand new duplexes, and I put an offer in on one and got approved for the financing. And they said, "We'll approve you for more." So I actually got a approval and went to the closing table to buy a second duplex.
Wow.
And that was, you had some of the mortgage brokers at the time. They were a little crooked, and some of them went to jail. And
That's right.
a lot of people went to jail over handing out mortgages like candy. But
That's getting out of jail now.
Yeah. That happened again, probably.
Yeah. So at the closing table on the second duplex, they raised the interest rate by a whole point, and walked away at the closing table. So didn't do that one. Maybe in retrospect, maybe strategically it was should have done it, but it's never a good idea to
Yeah.
get lied to and go through with the deal. So the other duplex, I bought it, and I'm effectively living for about $400 a month with the rent coming in from the other side. And I'm in a corporate world then, and traveling to different locations, and I had about 6 different locations that I traveled to. And Fort Wayne, Indiana, where the duplex was at, was kind of a central location. We had 2 plants close by there. We had some in Michigan, Chicago, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, Tennessee. So I was all over the place. And like it goes with those positions, ever a couple of years later, I got the order, said, "Hey, we're moving a plant to North Carolina. Said we want you to help with the startup." So okay, found a tenant very quickly, like 2 weeks. Found a tenant,
Wow.
and they moved out as we moved in, and or they moved in as we moved out, and we're taking our moving truck to North Carolina. So we job I was working in was up north of Greensboro, near the Virginia line. Eden, North Carolina was where it's at, and we were looking at the area, good places for real estate. And my mom and dad had lived in Raleigh for I guess total of about 10 years. They lived in Raleigh,
Oh,
so
wow.
we were somewhat familiar with the area. So we picked Burlington, Alamance County, which is halfway between Raleigh and Greensboro. And it turns out it's kind of some areas along the interstate there. It's kind of a bedroom community where the husband works in Raleigh and the wife works in Greensboro, and
Yeah.
Burlington just works out just perfect. So we picked that area as a solid investment, and we bought a starter home there. We couldn't find any multi-unit deals at the time, so we picked a good starter home that we knew would hold value and be rentable in the future when we had to move again. So we bought that, and it's probably appreciation wise, it's probably been the best real estate investment we've had so far. Very steady rents. Rents have gone up. Rents have probably gone up more so than the appreciation of the property.
Oh, yeah. Chad, quick question for you. You're a buddy in college, right? As he is spitting game, trying to get this girl's phone number, you are over here making an investment into your future.
Yeah. I guess my whole life I've always been kind of the type that I don't necessarily do the most popular thing, but I'm always got an eye on the future. What is this going to get me tomorrow? They may not be as fun as everybody else, but my tomorrow is going to be a whole lot more fun than everybody else.
That's awesome.
It is.
Is he married to this young lady or?
We probably shouldn't go in. I think he's
Okay.
on third wife. He's on his third wife. I'm on my third business. He's on his third wife.
I love that. I love that. I love
I
that.
don't. I can't rip on him too much though.
Oh no, you're fine. You're fine. Can you tell us about the transitioning to purchasing businesses and why that's so important?
Yeah. As my career moved along, we moved from North Carolina to Louisiana, and then Louisiana to Houston, and then we kind of hit a point where the corporate world was, I was working in private equity firms at the time, and you're traveling all the time. You're leaving on Monday, you're coming back on Friday. Or you're if you have a regional assignment, it's a long commute. Before we left, I had about a 2-hour commute in the Houston area with the equity firm I was working with. The acquisition they had that I was responsible for was about a 2-hour drive. So I was home every night, but I was home at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and we took a job to go to a small company in Waco that was the owner of the business wanted me to kind of do the same thing, do the lean manufacturing and kind of restore some operational profitability to the company. And it turned out to be just an absolute nightmare job. And if we hadn't been preparing for business acquisitions and getting into that world, it would have been a bad situation. I mean,
Wow.
we had an ICE audit, teetering on bankruptcy. I actually had a visit from Homeland Security a couple of months ago about my time there, asking me questions about what was going on there. So it was a nightmare job.
Oh,
Uh, we when we got the ICE audit, that was the weekend after 4th of July. They actually served us papers that ICE was going to audit the immigration status of all employees. And one of the guys there, I was like, "Oh, what did we lose? Like 5, 6?" He's like, "No, we'll lose like 95%." I was like, "Oh no."
whoa.
So
95%.
yeah, so we were looking at some fourplexes as an investment at the time, and I told my wife, I was like, we can't look at that little marginal cash flow from a fourplex. We got to look at something that's going to generate life sustaining income. And it's like, this isn't going to last long. So, so we found a very, very popular local restaurant that was for sale. And we knew nothing about the restaurant industry. All we knew that there was a lot of untapped potential there with the quality of the product that they produced. More so, the guy we brought it from, he is he used to be, before he started this restaurant, he was the startup man for Tillman Fertitta. And
Whoa.
if you're not familiar with Tillman Fertitta, he is like the tycoon of industry of restaurants.
Yep.
So whenever Tillman Fertitta says we're going to start up a new restaurant, he brought this guy in. Danny Brown was his name. He said, we're going to send Danny Brown in to manage that place and get it started and get it on its feet before we move him somewhere else. So he had, when
Wow.
he had kind of gotten, like me, he got tired of that corporate life. He started his own restaurant, and then he got cancer. So when he got cancer, he hired a general manager and kind of trained the general manager to run things, and it was still too much for him. And then he sold, and we bought it about a week and a half after he put it on the market. So it was
Wow.
just kind of perfect timing that we were about to get in trouble, and he was already in trouble, and we had a solution for each other.
That's awesome. Was it
Yeah.
with that experience, was there anything that was nerve-wracking or that you felt unsure about?
Well, I mean, you're we had no experience running a restaurant. Uh, so the thing we had to get over was that we have to trust the general manager that he set up. We have to trust the product that he is putting out. And just like manufacturing, when you're a lean manufacturing guy like I was, you don't always know the industries you're going into. All you know are processes, building reliable processes. So we had to trust that the GM knew how to put out the good product, and we've helped him build processes around everything. And then on top of that, we amped up the marketing, which was almost like maybe 10 days to take effect.
Wow.
Just from posting Facebook, advertising Facebook posts. It was probably 10 days. We added about 18, 19, 20% revenue.
Wow.
Uh, they had averaged like $82,000 a month revenue prior to us buying them. And up until COVID hit, we were averaging 104. So it was like an instant gain just from the marketing, just turning on the marketing. And we're no marketing experts. My wife's got a marketing degree and she's had a little bit of experience, but it was not like we were like marketing gurus, not like we're Grant Cardone out there.
There you go. He's real good.
Yeah, he's the professional. We're just letting it go. But we turned on the marketing and it worked. COVID hit, and what we wanted to do until COVID hit was kind of stay behind the scenes. We didn't want anybody to really know that Danny Brown had sold it, and we wanted everybody to think, well, everything is the same. Nothing has changed. All it is more people know about it. And of course, he died like late February. So then that kind of brought us out a little bit. It was like, well, I guess he did sell it. And, then it's like
Right.
we kind of had to step up and say, yeah, we own it. He set it up great. We haven't changed anything. And everybody was really loyal to us. It was really, really amazing how that loyal customer base just kind of switched right over once they knew that he no longer owned it.
Awesome.
Then COVID hit, and it was a really rough. We had about 6 weeks here where we were dining room was shut down. We were delivery only, and it was really, really tough. So meanwhile, at this point, we're kind of making the decision of, do I find another job or do we just dive into the business acquisition full time? And we just kind of said, okay, we're gonna do this full time. We're gonna find something else. And then COVID hits, and it's like, oh crap, we've got this one business, and this is our only thing, and we got to figure out how to keep this thing afloat long enough that we can go come out the other end and start buying stuff.
Yeah.
So 6 weeks of no dining room. In 6 weeks, we lost over $40,000. And we kind of took the attitude that if we're going down, we're going down swinging.
Swinging.
So we didn't cut back on the marketing because we still had delivery, and we were very lucky that one of our initial strategies was to grow our drive-through business. We're kind of on the highway going home. If you're going home, you're on that side of the highway. So you know how
Okay.
Texas highways are. We're on that access road. So you just kind of get off on the access road, drove through the drive-through, take the meal home. So we had really tried to grow that aspect of it, of getting your afternoon drive home, pick up your dinner, and take dinner home, and you get a nice home cooked meal for dinner. So that really transferred over to the COVID times very, very well, and allowed us to really say that we're not going to slow down on the spending. We turned all of our servers into delivery drivers,
Wow.
and which was costly, but it really sustained us on the other end because we grew on the other end. So once we got to 50% capacity, which was early August, we broke our revenue record with 50% capacity.
Wow.
Yeah.
Time out, Chad. How does that how does that happen?
Well, now here's another thing. The 50% capacity, that is based off of your fire marshal rating. And the
Okay.
fire marshal rating is based off square footage, which includes your kitchen. So that's not dining room, 50% of your dining room. So that it's a little deceptive when they say the percentages. So
Wow.
we had a very big kitchen, which allows us to do a lot of caterings and all that too. But uh, we were able to through drive-through. Drive-through was still very popular. Through 50% of our seating capacity, we were able to do probably 105 to 110% of our pre-COVID revenue.
That is awesome.
And so one of the other things, with the engineering background and kind of the mindset, one of the things that really was a strategic advantage over other places in the area was that we were I was saying we were an early adopter, but it turned out we're one of the only adopters. And it's stupid why we're the only adopters, but it's UV light technology. So we use our servers carry around these wands that they kind of telescope out, and they have UV light that they'll clean menus with. They'll a few passes over table, and
Wow.
you're talking about seconds. I mean, this is scientific fact. This is no extrapolation of a theory to say that a mask works, or all this contortion they have to do to say the mask works.
Yeah.
This is science that says you put this product right here for this amount of time and it kills COVID. That is scientific facts. And we used it. So we used the wands for the servers. They use that during the daytime. And at night, when everybody leaves, we have 7 high-powered lamps that we scatter around the dining room and the kitchen. And we run them for like an hour and a half. And at night, our windows, we started leaving the curtains open in the windows so that this blue glow, when you see it at night when we're closed, there's this blue glow coming out of our windows.
Advertising.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the advertisements that we did in one of the local magazines was our windows glowing blue.
Wow. That's good.
Yeah. And we had some TV interviews over that. And it just floors me that, my thing was, I told everybody, this doesn't need to be something that only we do. It says, I've told, I said, the company we bought this from, the National Institute of Health, buys the same stuff for their labs. We bought the same products, the same wands, the same lamps. National Institute of Health believes in this. Restaurants, other businesses, anybody that deals with the public should believe in this also. And I said, this doesn't need to be something specific to us, but we couldn't get anybody to buy into it.
That is crazy.
And it's not that expensive. It wasn't that expensive.
And, do you think your chemistry background and your Six Sigma process improvement background allowed you to think outside the box?
I think kind of the whole culmination of experience is kind of let me understand science. When you kind of hear some of these stories, you hear these guys talking on TV, the doctors, and some of them, I mean, they're smart guys, but they're also
Exaggerating.
politicians. They're politicians of their industry. They're not they're lab rats. The guys that are in the lab, they're the ones that see the data and have a feel for it. And those aren't the
Mhm,
ones talking on TV. It's the politicians of the industry that are on TV.
Mhm.
mhm.
So I mean, I understood concepts. You kind of have cross pollination across industries when you see several different industries, like my background has given me.
That's
So
awesome.
rather than being uh, stymied by the pandemic, you were in a not necessarily think out of the box, but you were saying there must be a way. I'm going to find it
Hmm.
for survival.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So rather than folding your tents and because I guess you felt that people still needed to eat, there were certain things that people still wanted, and they
Hmm.
just needed to find a safe place to go, and you had provided that little nugget for them.
Yeah, well, that then the Texan mentality is we're not going to get pushed around. We're not going to be victims. We're not going
I
to sit and be a
see.
victim to anything. Come and take it. So that doesn't mean be reckless.
Right.
It means punch back. It doesn't mean take the punches. It doesn't mean put on the hit like a boxer in sparring. It doesn't mean put on your headgear. It doesn't mean pad your gloves more. It means hit back and hit back harder. And our
Mhm.
way to hit back and hit back harder was the UV technology.
That's
Mhm.
good. That's awesome. So once you guys were now growing and you're using innovation, creativity, right, to get through something that most restaurants just close down. Honestly, I've seen it.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
What made you guys then continue to look for more targets when it comes to purchasing?
Well, we had just kind of shifted gears on what we were looking for. So prior to that, we were kind of looking at another restaurant in the Austin area that was kind of the same menu, but they didn't have the same knowledge, like Danny Brown, the way he learned from the Tillman Fertitta ways of how to set up a restaurant. They just hadn't quite set it up the same way. It wasn't the same quality of ingredients. So we thought that we could turn that one into exactly what we were. And it's in the Austin area, very close to where Elon Musk is building the Gigafactory,
Mm.
which
Timing.
I am hoping to get one of them trucks. I really want one of those
Yeah.
cyber trucks. But yeah, it's not close to that. So we thought that with that area growing, there's all kind of neighborhoods springing up around there. When we went to visit the place, the first thing we noticed was in the parking lot of that restaurant were signs for all the home builders. It was like this home builders community this way,
Wow.
this one this way, and it was like, well, obviously there's people moving here. There's people, there's new customers to reach. And one of the things that we've done to grow with the restaurant is every realtor in our side of town as a welcoming package. When somebody moves in from out of town, their first meal is on us, so they get a
Mm.
gift card from us when they move in.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. So from what I know from me moving around a lot, I know one of the most special things is that first night when you're so just dead tired from unpacking boxes and you just want to go eat somewhere, you always remember that first meal, and
That's
we
good.
want to be that first meal.
That's good.
Now that we own auto repair shops, I want to kind of do the same thing with oil changes. You get into a new area and you got to kind of get your bearings. And one of those things is, where do I get my oil changed? So I got a place for you to get your first meal, and I got a place to get your first oil change.
That's good. That's good. So, okay, you mentioned a few other things.
Yeah.
And what time frame is all this taking place for those who are listening? What time frame is this taking place?
Okay. So I guess it was April, the last day of April, or actually May 1st last year was when we were able to go to 25% dining room capacity. So it was probably mid-April when we got the UV light technology in there, and it was late April. Yes, is late April, maybe towards the start of June when we started saying, maybe restaurants aren't the safest industry to be in if government at a whim can tell us to close our doors.
Hmm.
So it's like, well, let's look at something let's look at what survived. And one of those things that we noticed survived was the auto industry, the auto repair industry. And,
Yep.
the car sales didn't done so well, but you're not buying cars, you're going to get your car repaired. So we started looking at that, and we found a gem in just south of us in Killeen, near Fort Hood.
Okay.
It's a European
Taking
auto
advantage
repair
of the
shop.
military again.
You wouldn't believe how many officers get out of OCS and buy a Mercedes or BMW, and then that first oil change comes, and they go to a dealer to get the price, and they about choke. Then they come to us. So yeah, we help them out. We make crazy margins, and we're still way cheaper than the dealers.
Okay.
That's good. So
But it's very safe, very safe. Survived everything. We never shut our doors here. The only thing we did shut our door for was when the power went out. When we had the power outage late February.
yeah, that's crazy.
There's not much you can do. I mean, I'm in my head. The wheels are turning about some solar panels or something like that. I mean, my opinion is all that what they call green energy is misapplied. I think it's probably more doable on a individual level. So if I had solar panels on my roof here and I had a windmill here, if it got de-iced, it's not much different than being in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and shoveling your driveway. I mean, people do it.
Mm-hmm.
I can go out there and scrub off my solar panels and get some power. But if you're the state of Texas and you have a 1,000-acre wind farm and solar panels, it's not exactly doable to tell somebody to get an ice scraper and go out there and scrape off the solar panels.
No way.
I think they should relabel the whole stuff independent energy instead of green energy, because then when you say, well, look at California when the governor shut off power to the homes that were having parties.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, you put some solar panels on your roof, put a windmill in your yard. It's like, there's no politician will ever shut off your power.
The party keeps going.
Independent.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's marketed wrong. The green energy should be independent energy.
Independent. I love that. So, okay. Go ahead, Hank. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, as I'm listening to you, I remember that sign, eat here and get gas, but but you're dealing with businesses that are essential in people's everyday lives.
Yes.
So you go from food to auto repair, and you say you either were looking at or you have hands on. So what other industries that you venture into, and what was the thought process behind that?
Well, I'm over the last month or so, I'm really kind of developing that overall high level strategy.
Mm-hmm.
And what I kind of want to get towards is being able to take a car from grave back to cradle. And by that, I mean, take the used cars that you buy them at auction or I think our mechanics are saying the junk cars, wreck cars are kind of too risky to deal with. But, if we were able to get, say, a body shop, and then we have a foreign repair shop and a domestic repair shop, then all we need is an avenue to get those back into the market. So whether we sell them to used car lots or we sell them ourselves, I think then you're able to go from the auction, a car that's unusable.
Mm-hmm.
We repair the body, we repair the engine, we get everything back to working condition, and then we have something that we can put our name on and sell back to the public. And part of what is getting me in this direction is it's there's a lot of concern among a lot of economists out there about how much money that the government's just passing out. I mean, you look at PPP, you look at EIDL programs, and these are only small fractions of these overall, like the CARES package, EIDL, PPP are only a small portion of it, and it is just crazy money that they're handing out. So
you do know who's first to the table with for all of these government programs, right?
With politicians' families.
but the big guys, and many of the big guys are the guys around the table writing the law.
Yeah,
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 yeah, they're
You
family.
know? So
yeah.
they're feeding on both ends.
So yeah, so with all this money that's getting handed out,
Mhm.
we're following the rules on how to spend it. We're meticulous on following the rules, but we bust our butt to make sure our business doesn't fall off. And if
Right.
we sustain our business, then as that money passes through cost of goods and all the different ways that we're supposed to spend it, then it falls to the bottom line and we can use it for investment. So there's an economic principle that I've been learning about called the Cantillon effect. And what that means is, I see you smiling. You may know what I'm talking about. So the Cantillon effect says that when you throw money into the market, prices don't instantly react. There's a lag time. So what that means is who gets the money first is the one who benefits from it most. So they throw the money out there. I invest it in today's prices, and then tomorrow those prices inflate and the currency devalues,
Mhm.
and I bought it at the original valuation of the currency. So you look at 2008 when the bailouts happened. Then nobody got a check. They just went straight to the big banks. The big banks got zeros added to their accounts,
Mhm. Mhm.
and the Cantillon effect went straight to the banks. We saw nothing.
Yeah, and
Um,
and and Hank likes to call that first movers advantage.
right.
He talked about that
Yeah.
this morning in our
Yeah.
meeting.
Mhm.
I got a question. I got a lot of questions for you, Chad. Okay, you ready?
Mhm.
No, not too many, but just a few. Okay.
Sure.
When it comes to you're scoping out new businesses, everyone has their own underwriting criteria, right?
Yeah.
Different things they're looking for. So for you, what does that look like and
Well,
why?
the first pass is the financials. So it has to make money, and kind of the size business we're looking at, is the business size being 500 to a million plus the real estate. We want to get the real estate too for all the tax advantages. And you think back to that Cantillon effect. You want to buy something that holds value, and the real estate will hold value. So we want that. So we're looking at $1 million to 2 million for a deal. So that price range in that business size, we want something that's going to cash flow. What I'm looking at is about the same as a professional salary. So I want 125 to 200 in cash flow. So that about that 150 range is what we're looking for. So that's the first pass, and you can get that off bizbuysell.com. And ever since I was in college, I've been on bizbuysell.com, all these websites, and just building spreadsheets. Occasionally I'd get up the courage to call a broker. It's like, hey, send me the financials. I'll sign your NDA. It's like I have $5,000 in my checking account. There's no way I can buy $1 million business. And he'll send me the financials, and I've just got practice. I can build the spreadsheets and build the financial models of what that business would look like. So kind of all those practice dry runs of doing that for all those years, and now we're doing it for real. So that's
Mhm.
the pass. And then once we get into looking at the business, what I want a business where somebody has set up that secret sauce, like the business here where the guy knew uh, foreign cars, Mercedes, BMW. He knew the ins and outs of everything there, and hired the right people, got the right equipment. In that business, the equipment, having the right equipment is the differentiating factor. Um, the restaurant, Danny Brown was Tillman Fertitta's right hand man, and he knew exactly what he was doing when he set it up. So everything was set up just perfectly to make money and to be a viable business and be a good product. So we look for that. And then where I can come in and kind of bring that lean manufacturing, kind of that private equity M&A background into it, where I can kind of professionalize some things, add the marketing campaigns and ask the questions that put systems around the way the business operates,
Mhm.
and really kind of build a consistent cash flowing business.
That's awesome. And for those who like the fancy wording, could say value adding, right? For those who are, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. What about if someone says, Chad, I hear that it takes a long time to buy a business. How would you answer that?
It seems longer than it really is. and every time it doesn't get any easier. You know, I guess when you talk about the time that you put in an offer or you do start doing the study until the time you actually close, you know, it's nerve wracking. There's ups and downs. You know, the deal I'm working on now that we're under contract for our SBA portion, and then we have a seller second where the seller's attorneys kind of got involved and is like, well, we want to make sure that the collateralization of this, if you were a bank, you would want the collateralization defined a little bit more. And you know, the broker's kind of going to him today and it's like, hey, you know, this is a solid deal. You're getting what you need. You know, one of Carl Allen's things is that deal structure beats deal price.
every
So
day.
we're actually offering a little bit more to do the seller financing for a longer term. And you know, he's getting actually more than he wanted, and it's an advantage to us because his financing terms, stretching it out 10 years, is very good, and also no payments due for the first 3 months, so building a little cash cushion.
That's right. And if you know, for certain SBA loans too, there's no payments for I think 6 months there too.
Yes. I believe it's only 3 months now.
Oh, how dare they? What is wrong with those guys?
Well, they claim they ran out of money.
Oh,
No.
So they reduced it, in which I don't know what I heard a guy on TV say one time that the government's ability to print money is only limited by political will. So somebody ran out of political will.
that's right. And I'm so someone who's listening, they may have not caught part of what you said, and someone might say, you know, what's he talking about? You mentioned just now the importance of tax strategies, right? From the seller's perspective. Can you educate anyone who's listening about how or why that's so important?
Yeah. So one of the ways that we sold the seller on taking this seller, he's taken a pretty good percentage of seller financing. We bought the business here in Killeen back in November, and it's been a very quick turnaround to be able to generate the investment capital to buy the next one. So we weren't quite able to make that down payment percentage requirement that the SBA wants. So the seller financing has to make up the difference. And, you know, with potential for tax rates changing this year, you know, everybody's a little on edge about that. We were able to use that and, you know, the existing tax loopholes or not loopholes, but the existing tax strategy as it is, that if he defers some of that sales price into future years with interest, then he comes out paying a lot less taxes.
A
And
lot less.
we were able to sell him on that, and he's financing about 20% of the deal.
A lot less. Awesome. And then go ahead, Hank. Sorry.
Yeah, did you have a tax consultant or a CPA advising you on some of the financial or tax implications of those deals?
No, but the broker is an accountant, and the broker is the one that helped me sell the seller on carrying that big portion of seller financing.
So you had some quote professional help, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, I mean he was a professional, but not speaking professional.
I'm just saying that sometimes just having people who supposedly have credentials at the table, whispering to somebody on your behalf, is just amazing door openers. Would you agree?
Yes. Yeah. This broker, he's very knowledgeable, and he's done deals like this before. So he's telling him that, you know, here was the structure of the last deal we did, and here was the percentages, and this one worked out really well. This worked out well for the seller because of this, and among those was the tax strategies.
Yep. And it's always good to have team. People don't I think so. I like sports. People understand the importance of team when it comes to a sport, but not when it comes to business acquisitions and wealth building. So,
yeah.
Chad, what do you say to someone who says, well, Chad, I don't come from money. I don't have a lot of money. What should I do? Right.
Well, neither did I. So I came from the backwoods of Kentucky. You know, grew up in a pretty rural area. My dad was a hourly union worker And after actually like for 26 years, he got laid off from his union
Wow.
job and decided that he was never going to set foot in a factory again. And started, my sister, he coached my sister to play tennis, and he was kind of deep in the tennis world in the Western Kentucky area. And he decided to start a career as a tennis coach.
Wow.
At at a late stage in life, and actually had worked himself up to be one of the Team USA junior coaches. He's 1 year, when he went to North Carolina, coaching in North Carolina, I think 1 year, I think he had in the high school state tournament, I think he had 7 state champions
Get out of here.
between boys, girls, and the different age or the different
The
school
doubles.
classes. What is it, Class A, Double
Yep.
A, whatever
Double
the
A,
class
4A.
system is.
Yep.
Yeah, he had 7 state champions 1 year. It was,
Wow.
he kind of had his entrepreneurial streak as well. After 26 years. So I mean, and that brings up another thing that from all reading all these guys like Robert Kiyosaki, one of the things that Kiyosaki says that it doesn't really strike me until I kind of got into this entrepreneurial life is that you don't want to get addicted to a paycheck.
Mhm.
And the reason my dad didn't do anything sooner is that he had a family and he needed that hourly paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, it was at a uranium enrichment plant, which is what ended up killing him.
Oh my.
He died 7 years ago when it was I think 2 days after my daughter had left the hospital. He had talked to her one time on Skype and died the next day.
Man.
But 26 years in a uranium enrichment plant, and it was that addiction to the paycheck. He probably would have ventured out and started his own thing and got involved entrepreneurial had it not been an addiction to that paycheck. And the same way with me, I would have gotten involved sooner if it wasn't an addiction to that engineering salary.
So first, I want to say condolences about your father. I know it's been 70 years, but the other thing is, it's great that he was able to instill hard working into you and your family. One of the things that's really scary when we talk to physicians and people who maybe have high salaries, right? Even athletes, is that they are addicted to that income so much, and because they've worked, right, whether it's from college or whatever else, they've worked to obtain that income, that they believe that that's it.
Yeah.
And then once like we all know, taxes takes about 40%, maybe even 50%, depending on your state. And so depending on so at that point you're kind of stuck. You have to invest that money. You have to buy businesses or buy investment real estate. Yeah.
Yeah, and you think back to Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrant. You're in that employee and specialist side, the ENS side, and you're trading time for money. So even if you're a doctor, there's only so much you can make because your services are what they're paying you for. There's only so much time in a day that you can provide services.
That's right.
When you get to the business and investor side, then it's unlimited. You're no longer trading time for money.
And you get taxed less.
Yeah. I love Kiyosaki, and he always talks about how in one of the debates, Hillary told Trump that you don't pay any taxes, and he says that's because I'm smart.
I think one time he answered and said, he said, "Why would I?" And I know that, and that one, and to me, I'm thinking like, no, seriously, like that's the actual code. But people got so upset. It was in the newspaper, and I'm thinking like, gosh, you guys really need to look at the tax code. It'll make sense if you just look at the tax code.
That's one of those things where he's not thinking like a politician. Like, most politicians, I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, he was blurting.
He's like, I don't care. I'm going to tell you what I think.
He was blurting it out. I have another question for you. All right. So right now, maybe not. Someone who's listening probably doesn't know this, but majority of small business owners, right, are within a certain age demographic, right? So with that being said, do you think that this is a great time for people to look for more opportunities?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of the older generation that have built their businesses. Everything as I've talked to some of these people, you're looking for other opportunities. The impression that I've gotten is that everybody has went through a war for the last year, and some are a little shell shocked, and they just don't want to deal with it anymore. So there's a lot of opportunities to get deals. I mean, I've had specifically for restaurants, we've had people approach us. Two people in Waco area have approached us to sell us their very successful restaurants just because they just don't want to deal with it anymore. I mean, they've been through a war and they survived, and they don't want to go through it again. So there's a lot of people just looking to cash out.
Awesome, awesome. Hank, any questions that you have for Chad?
No, he has done, if the question would be, if you had to do it all over again, what would you do differently? Or what lessons have you learned along the way that you think will be beneficial to our audience?
Well, the biggest thing is don't get addicted to that paycheck. You know, when I went to college, I chose chemical engineering, partly because of MacGyver, and then partly because I just wanted to do the hardest thing and say that I did the hardest thing. And I wasn't like the gifted and talented classes in high school. I was just an average kid, and nothing overly outstanding about me intellectually or athletically. Yet I played Division I baseball, and then ended up getting 2 master's degrees and got an MBA after I worked a few years. And just an average guy, right? Just an average guy, and I wanted to do it, so I did it. So part of that was the chemical engineering, and with chemical engineering, and then you get a master's degree in engineering, you're going to have a pretty good starting salary. 2004, I think it was 60 some $1,000 was a starting salary, and that was like way more than any other degree. I mean, it's probably more than any other degree right now.
Yep.
So you kind of get addicted to it, and it's like, oh, well, I can go buy me a new truck. So you go bought a Chevy Avalanche. It's still we have a Mercedes E350 now, and I will still tell you my 2003 Avalanche was the best car we've ever had. I love that truck.
Wow.
But anyway, you kind of realize that, it's like, well, that's a lot of money every month. So we paid it off really quick and kind of got back on track. And it's just kind of, you don't want to get addicted to that money. You want to, I think Grant Cardone says you want to be able to live off of 40% of your income. 40% of your income goes to your personal, 20% or whatever goes to taxes, and the rest has to go towards investing in your future.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. Chad, before we end, anywhere or any contact information or websites you want to lead them to, or anywhere you want the people to reach out to if they have any questions or want to learn more from you?
Yeah. So if you're ever in the Waco area, Brown House Cafe, we are Waco Tribune says we're the best breakfast in town. Have pretty good chicken fried steak as well. So if you're hungry, stop by there, Brown House Cafe in Woodway, in the Woodway area. And contact me. Email address is ctrail@trailwoodind.com.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, Chad, thank you. And that is it for today. See you guys next time.
Great. Thanks.